Well, we got a quick turnaround here, and it's going to be unique or interesting because it's kind of the exact opposite. You have a team like Michigan who has 4 perimeter guys that are shooting threes from everywhere, and you got a team like Purdue who's got 2 of the biggest players, not only in the league but in the country, and they pound it in a lot and get the ball inside, and so it's a complete opposite prep, and it's been kind of interesting and fun. It gives us a good chance to see what it could be like in the NCAA tournament when you play different teams. But Purdue has been playing pretty well. They were shooting it really well early, and then they've maybe not shot it as well in the last couple of games, but between Haas and Swanigan and Hammonds, that's 3 monsters in there, and then they can also go small, and they have the ability to do that. So they're going to present some challenges. I'm sure they're going to be out on our shooters, and we're just kind of looking forward to going down there, a big game on the road, see what we can do, how fast we can bounce back, and I'm kind of looking forward to see how our players respond.
Tom,
yes.
After the game on Saturday, John Beilein had incredible praise for you, your program, and one of the many things he touched on was Matt and Denzel and how they're not the players they were as freshmen, sophomore, or juniors, and how the way you run your program, getting guys to stay and get better every year, is better for the game of basketball. Would you talk about that and their maturation and how it maybe does speak to some other players, how sticking around can help?
Well, I think we always look at it like it helps only us, and I think John and I are in the same spot in that, I mean, both have had some guys that have left early that maybe another year would have helped a guy like, I don't know where Stauskas is right now, but I know he struggled some, what another year of strength and maturity and all those things have helped. And I think we both feel the same way about that. I mean, does it benefit your program? Of course it does, but does it benefit the player? I mean, believe it or not, coaches, it's not just the NCAA that looks out for the student athletes. We do too. We want our guys to end up successful as they leave, and everybody said, he talked about our program, but like I told him after, I told you guys after, basketball is such a unique sport. You don't get to lose a Levert or a Valentine or a Buddy Hield or Duke loses a guy that's not even as good as far as all around, but it changes their whole team. Marcus Page at North Carolina. I think that's the hardest part is we lose players early, and if we lose one to injuries, when a football team loses a player, maybe they've got a senior, a 4-year guy, maybe they got definitely another 3 or 2-year guy. When it happens in basketball, a lot of times you're really left with inexperienced people at that haven't even been through your system. So, Denzel and Matt have grown as much as anybody, that I've had here. When I look at the maturation of them as a person and as a player, and Matt is starting to understand that basketball is important. I always say big guys struggle with that a little bit more than guards do. And I've seen how he's approaching games right now. There's just a different sense of urgency. You wish you could get it out earlier, but, I've always said that we as a society screw up because we're always trying to speed the process up. And maybe that's what John was talking about, that there is a process to this whole thing, whether it be my kids, your kids, or the players that we coach. And I think sometimes we spend a lot of time speeding it up, and maybe we should be slowing it down a little bit. It would be better for all parties. But those 2 guys have benefited, and I can't take the credit for it. I mean, they've benefited, especially in Denzel's case. I mean, he's worked his tail off each summer. He's gotten better at whatever he had to get better at. Early on it was his shot, then it was his ball handling, then it was his decision-making on turnovers, then it was his defense. And I said the last frontier he's taken care of has been his body. He always had a little sloppier body, and I don't mean that he wasn't out of shape. And he's really gotten into eating better and doing this and doing that. And I just think he's kind of hit every gambit of things you hit as you mature. And that's kind of fun to watch. It's the first guy that I've really seen do all those different things. And, it's probably going to help me become a better coach, because now I'll emphasize some different things earlier, and I'll have a statue of a guy there that has done it, And then anytime you can put a guy that's in this era, it's great to say Magic did this and Cleaves did that, but, most of these guys are barely old enough. They were barely born when Cleaves played here, much less Irvin. So, I think Denzel, I think everybody likes watching a guy that improves and has improved over time. Yogi Ferrell's been a guy in this league that I think has done that. Levert's been cut short because of the injuries, but I appreciate what he said, and I appreciate that I got two guys that are leading us right now that I think fit that bill to the T.
You mentioned the process, and with Costello, is it surpassed your expectations this year from where it was a year ago? And a year ago, it seemed like when he got the ball in the post, it was a hot potato. He wanted to get rid of it, and he would have rather, shot the ball from the perimeter. That's totally changed. He swung the ball on Saturday in a ball. He had an open shot. Did you see this coming, and can you kind of explain why that's all happened?
Well, I think most of the other things that happen in sports, to me, is everybody wants to be somebody who they're not. I think Matt last year wanted to be AP. He thought, well, this is my turn to be AP. And I said, well, Matt, you got to be Matt. You don't shoot it like AP, but he can shoot the ball. Okay, but I said, we're going to have enough shooters. We got to get a post threat, and you have post moves. You do have a jump hook. You can shoot free throws, so you got to find a way to get fouled. And he was a strange shot blocker, because a guy that doesn't have great hops, you wouldn't think is a shot blocker, but he's got great timing. And did I see it coming? I saw it gradually coming, but I think he took a monster jump. It was almost like the light went on and said, you know what, I'm going to get down there and do my work where I got to do my work. And I think, too, in fairness to him, we started throwing it in there more, because, players want you to have confidence in them without proving it. And coaches always want, you prove to me, then I'll go to you. And this one, by necessity, we had to go to him some. And he stepped up, and it's been a good marriage ever since. I mean, second half of that game at Michigan, I knew they were going to take away the threes. I mean, they were. And our whole game plan was just to pound it inside, and we scored more than a few. I mean, he had 13 points himself, I think, the second half, but we scored some in the post, and it was because we went in there. I think what we got to do now is find that happy medium of doing both within the whole game, not by halves.
I'm just wondering if you've been able to get a better idea of Tom's timeline for coming back.
This will frustrate you guys, because it's really been frustrating for me, but the best answer I can give you is he's suiting up. And I don't know if he'll play in the next month. He's not going to be able to practice much. It did not get a lot better. It's probably going to be that 6-8 week thing. At the same time, no more damage, hasn't done anything, and in everybody's opinion, it's not going to damage it anymore. The pain isn't quite where it was when we took him out. So we've gotten rid of some of that. But as soon as he does much, it comes back. So, I talked to a couple different coaches. One was Mark Few out of Gonzaga, where I think it was Pangos had his whole senior year. Man, Freddie, my wife sometimes is a pain, but yours got to be tough on you, boy. Huh? Put it on vibrate. Poor wife. Anyway, back to what I was talking about before I was rudely interrupted. Just kidding, Fred. Where was I? Oh, on Tom. Mark Few said that, Pangos couldn't hardly practice, played in games. Now, Pangos is a very skilled guy, as we all know. Tom is not, but that could work in Tom's favor. In other words, could I use him to run the break and guard somebody for some ungodly reason? If you watch him work out, even right now today, if he did a little bit like he did last week, there's no limping, there's no this or that. He's still got his speed. It was the pain was getting to his head, and I just thought he was making some mental mistakes. Could I use him at 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there? I mean, we were suited up. I said, what if we get in foul trouble? Can we use him that way? And it sounds ridiculous, but at least for a couple more weeks, guys, I think this is going to be a day-to-day. He's not going to practice. If he does practice, it might be to shoot free throws. And it's a sad deal for me and for him, and I think for us. I mean, I still say he has great value, just like a game tomorrow where I think they're going to put pressure on Denzel and that, he can wear a point guard down, and he could give us maybe 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 2 minutes here. It's just going to be very sparingly, if any, for a while. So it doesn't help you much, but I swear to you, it's all I got, and it's frustrating for everybody that's been involved with it.
Tom, I rarely do this, but let me make a baseball analogy. When hitters hit, it seems to be contagious. Everybody hits. Now you go through a 3-game stretch where you can't throw the ball in Lake Michigan, and Saturday looked like everything you threw up was going in. Is shooting contagious?
Yeah, I think it is. I think what is this day and age is confidence is contagious. And so if you're feeling good and you're feeling comfortable and you're feeling confident and energy's contagious, and you kind of feed off each other. And there's no question we are shooting the ball, but I thought we were going to be a good shooting team at the beginning of the year, and we were, and then we went through a little bit of a slump. So I guess the better question is, did we go through a slump because we got defended different? Or do we go through a slump because we took bad shots? I mean, that'll be something maybe Wednesday and Thursday we're going to really take a look at, why the difference? And or is it just flat out contagious, as you say? But, we think the guys that are shooting them can shoot the ball, And the other thing is, remember, getting Denzel back both ways, where he's taking shots, making shots. People have to guard him different, guard our other guys different because he's in the game, and he's making those passes. He's getting 5, 6, 7 assists a game, and those cross-court passes that he can throw are almost like inside-out passes. I don't need Bryn coming off a screen to get him. Denzel can fake into the post, hit him on a cross-court, and he's open. So, Denzel has a lot to do, I think, with our whole team's shooting in that respect.
A hypothetical here for you, Tom. Now that you've been looking at Purdue, do you allow yourself to think how your team might be different with Swanigan? And, with a Davis and a Goins the way they played, maybe they wouldn't have had the same opportunities this year?
Well, I think what it is, listen, when that thing all went down, it was strange. It was a little bit of a, it just wasn't. I was pretty honest with you guys in the beginning when I didn't think we'd get them. Then all of a sudden we're getting them and this and that. And so, we're learning in football. I don't know how strange it is. I mean, people are changing every day. But there was never any hard feelings. The night he decommitted, I talked to Matt Painter that night. I called him. I said, hey, don't worry. I hear rumors that, you guys are in there. I'm not worried that they did something wrong or that, I look at it like it worked out great for him. I mean, he's doing well, but it worked out great for us too. Who knows who would have played together and who wouldn't have played together, but Didi's been phenomenal here, and the other guys, and he's been good down there. And a good deal is when it's a good deal for both parties, and if it's been a good deal for him and he's happy, I know it's been a good deal for us where we're at, and we're happy. And seriously, there will be no let's go beat Purdue because of Biggie. We want to beat Purdue because we want to beat Purdue. And for Matt and I, we were pretty open about it with each other. I saw him the last night we were out recruiting. We were both at his game, and I think at that time he thought he had no shot, and I thought I had a little shot, and then it flip-flopped. But everything's cool and everything's good, and I pull for him. I really do. It doesn't bother me one bit. So I don't know how it would have ended up if they would have both been here, but I definitely like where I see our guy going, and that's the one I coach every day.
What about that matchup? Those guys know each other. They play each other. They're going to see each other a lot.
Yeah, it'll be good. I mean, different kinds of players. One's more physical, one's more got length. I think they're averaging almost the same now. I think Biggie's averaging 7, 8. He's averaging more rebounds. Didi's averaging more blocks and is a little different player in some ways, but should be a great matchup. Two guys that played AU are friends, and now they got to battle each other for 2 hours. So I think it'll be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
Tom, I know you lamented at the beginning of the year that you had a team full of shooters and that often shooters can't defend, but here we are with maybe 7 or so games in the season. You're top 2 in most defensive categories in the conference. So just how do you feel about that coming into the home stretch, that your team's defense has really come around?
I looked at the Big Ten stats today and the overall stats, and I every time I do, I ask Matt, are you fudging these or what? Because I don't feel as good about it sitting there. It's like 3-point shooting right now. I mean, I think we're shooting the ball well right now, but we're like 6 points better than the next team in the league. We're shooting almost 45% in the league, and I think the next closest is 39. And defensively, as you say, we're right up there, 1-2, and in all of them, our rebounding has still been 1 overall, 2 in the Big Ten with Purdue, so that'll be interesting stat tomorrow. I guess the only thing has been turnovers, I think, right? We're still steals and turnovers, and the steals is partly how we play our defense. But we've really been up there in all stats, and I'm really pleased with that. I say sometimes, though, I'm not a big analytics guy. Like when the NBA and NFL talk about analytics, I usually put, Day-Day was not a very good analytics draft. And so I don't believe in the numbers all the time, but we have been very solid. And, when I see Bryn Forbes, I mean, I'm just using him as an example, 2-3 times diving after a loose ball, that almost means more than the defense to me, because I think we got some guys that have changed. Aaron Harris now is becoming a lockdown guy. We still got to get him more involved in the offense. He gave me something, I owe him something. That's the way I look at this whole deal. And Aaron, has sacrificed some things, but I think he's appreciated winning and the things that it does too. So stats, at the end of the day, I'm sure those numbers do mean something, and I feel good about it. I don't feel great about it because I don't think we're always doing the things that we need to do, but we're probably doing it better than most teams in our league and probably a lot of teams in the country. I think our field goal percentage in the country is what? Defense. 4th. Either nobody's guarding anybody or we're better than I think at that.
Tom, with Didi, just wondering, you talked so much at the beginning of the year about trying to get any words out of him, trying to get him to talk at all. Has he opened up at all throughout the season?
Didi and Bryn have improved the most in the areas they were the worst at. I think Bryn had to become a better defender. He had to become a little tougher. He had to become a little, Rambo-ish a little bit more, and he's done that. And I think Didi is, he's talking 10 times more, which means, he's not going to go into a salon and sit at the hairdryer area and have a conversation with people, but he's been fun. He has really been fun how he's grown. I enjoy bringing him in the office. He actually stops by the office now. And I think even the players, I think they all have appreciated that, not where he needs to be yet, but where he came from and where he is. He's made big time strides, and he's been a fun kid to coach. frustrating that he doesn't talk to you all the time, because sometimes I look at him and I say something, and then, if he'll say to me, well, why are you getting mad at me? I said, because you never answer me. Just answer me, say yes, no, and then I'll know that you at least heard me. And now he's getting better at that, and he's making progress. Yeah, he's made big progress. Talking on the defensive stuff, like even against a team like Michigan who has to cover a perimeter guy, that's a hard thing for him. And he had to communicate a little bit better. It wasn't as vocal, but Brent has become one of my best communicators on defense. And he wasn't doing it at all. So I think Didi's going to keep getting better. I really do.
And we've talked a lot about Costello, it seems like, but even though he kind of chastises himself afterward for his shows of emotion recently, is it hard to put a value on what that can mean for a team to have a guy like that who just kind of lets it all go?
Well, it is. Him and Zell are kind of a perfect pair. They're best friends. They really are best friends. They care about each other. They're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum in some ways, but I've never seen two guys start banding together to try to accomplish something. I mean, there's been a lot of emotion with both of them in the last couple of weeks, and it's starting. The next step that I told you that Zell had to take, both are starting to take, and that's that they're starting to expand that to other people. If you're just being that way yourself, it's not good enough. And they are really kind of dragging people in. I said Matt has done a great job with Didi, but he's still keeping Schilling in there too, and even with Kenny and those guys, he's been a true leader of those bigs, and Valentine is actually. He's starting to get after some people. That's one other thing that I appreciated about Didi. Somebody asked me this, scouts or different people would ask me, Didi can take coaching. A lot of guys that are shy and big, they don't take it very well. And he's done a hell of a job of taking it. And Matt, over the years, has, I think, struggled with that sometimes too. And this year, it gets to the point where I think players figure out that the coach is on their side, not against them. And sometimes that takes a while. I guess just like my son, he still thinks I think he's against me, come to think of it. But that happens, and when it happens and they come together, get a lot more done.
I just want to follow up quickly on Nairn. When he does come back, do you have to kind of move forward with the rotation and say when he comes back it's going to be maybe more of a change of pace guy, so you don't have to readjust everything again?
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't want to make some earth-shattering news, but I don't see him coming back and playing any kind of minutes that are going to make us change what we're doing. I see it this 3 minutes here and 4 minutes there and 2 minutes there, and maybe he gets to 6-8 minutes a game. Maybe he gets to 3-4. Maybe it's emergency on foul trouble. He's going to play. He'll do whatever we ask him to do. And the sad part is he just can't. He'll suck it up and play 20 minutes. I know he would. And he could probably do that in a game if it was really needed, because unfortunately, he did it for half the year. But as far as any consistency where he's going to be able to practice, or we're going to be able to work on those things, I think that we're looking at now the end of the season, getting him healthy for next year, which doesn't seem to be an issue, but it's going to take total rest and some other things. And one of the sadder kind of talks I've had to have with a player, and him and I spent some time together, and doctors, and I got to admit, I told you I had it myself, one shot, and I was good to go the next day. Okay, that still could happen for him. It's plantar fasciitis, which millions and millions of people have had, but there is no rhyme nor reason for it, and it's got a lot of people kind of stumped. And I don't want to say it like that, because then I'm going to get 10,000 more letters on all these things people do, from rolling to walking to not walking to I got a lot of things, boy. I could be a specialist. I just don't know if it would work. But and I appreciate it too because he's such a good kid. And trust me on this, we miss him. I mean, we miss that kid. That kid can push it from one end to the other as good as anybody, and he can defend as good as anybody. And maybe that's the saddest part for me because coming off the bench, if I could get him back, then everyone wouldn't game plan to the fact that he doesn't shoot it as well. They wouldn't game plan to that like when he's playing 25 minutes a game, and I think he would even have been more effective. And yet, I just, unless we have one of these miracles, I just don't see this changing until the end of the year. And been hard on him, hard on us, but I think we're at the grasp with it now that this is the way it's going to be. He's probably not going to practice anymore unless it be little things here and there, a walk through just in case, so he knows what's going on. And until that thing changes. I can get one or two more. I mean, you got, what's his name coming in? When he comes in, I'm done. How's that?
Tom, going back to Tom, based on what you've said about how he was been injured all year, which we knew, is this something where if you would have sat him down earlier in the year, he maybe would have been here? Is that
I don't think so. I mean, we can always look at hindsight, but I really don't think so. I mean, because it was from the summer. It just hasn't changed. He sat some, he didn't sit. It's probably a legitimate good question, but the other problem that you have with it is you got to go by him. I mean, we can't go down there and look at it and say, it's got 50-degree pain, 75, 25, go on Tom. Well, for a couple months, Tom just, good day, coach. It's good day, good day, coach. And it was until that Iowa game when I just saw, to me, he was, to me, it was cut and dry that it had run its course, and mentally. And he still could have sucked it up physically, I think. But I don't know. That I don't know if anybody knows. And I don't think I would have changed it. I mean, he won us a lot of games, believe it or not, early. And not at his expense, because he was making the decisions that were as educated as the ones we could get.
I got suckered into loving offense and picked Carolina by 20. I'm guessing you love the Super Bowl for.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I'm guessing you'll tell your team that this is why defense beats offense.
You know what? I thought Carolina could win. I always hope. I heard Mike Golick say something this morning that was awesome. He said 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 12, all but two, when the number one defensive team plays. Did you guys hear? Was it 8 out of 10? 10 out of 12. Number one defense has won 10 out of the 12 times that the number one defense has made it there. He says, when am I going to get smart enough to just realize that and go with that team? Being a Domer, I don't know if he ever will. But, I mean, other than that, I think it's – you guys wouldn't believe it, but I do research baseball, hockey, football, basketball. It is just amazing how those teams, year in, year out, I mean, it just happened in college football again. It happened in pro football again. It's great for me because it's something to say. It's great for all coaches because all of us are going to get better offensively. But that's one thing we didn't talk about, as well as we're shooting it. What I was proudest of in that game is we didn't go crazy from the three. And we did go into Matt the second half. And, we don't want to be taking 30-some threes a game because you live with that, you'll die with it. I mean, again, it depends what you're trying to do. And there's been a couple, there's always a couple, 2 out of 12, that can win the offensive way. But the consistency of trying to win 4, 5, 6 games or 3 games to win the conference championship or 5 or 6 to win the national championship, pretty hard to rely. Somebody's going to take something away from you. They can't take your defense away. which they shouldn't be able to take your rebounding away. And for us, that's another plus because then we got our running game going. If we defend and rebound right and aren't taking it out of the net, we're taking it off the boards. And we got some bigs that can run too. And we felt in our game in the first half, Matt and Gavin ran so well down the middle that in the film they're pinching in, and that got, Brennan and even Aaron one time, Matt McQuaid one time, shots on the perimeter. So they work together. They go together. I guess Matt just walked in, so you guys can throw some questions at him and ask him all the things that you want to ask him. But we're looking forward to the game tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing those of you that are going. I'll see you then.